My Droogs, it's David Daniel Ducker, and today I'm going to be doing a first impressions video on Pathfinder 2nd edition Playtest. So I've just downloaded this from the Paizo website, and I've skimmed through it. That's why this is first impressions rather than like full review. And I don't think there will be a full review, as I'm not super fond of this product. So let's break the book down chapter by chapter. So they start off the usual introduction. What is a role-playing game? Nothing revolutionary there. Then they go into the ability scores. And I hope you like the classic 6 ability scores because they are back once again. Strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. Charisma instead of a pinky finger there. And I hope you like uh, the old system of having one number that means nothing, and then the second number is your bonus, and that's the one you actually care about. So if there's a 10 for your strength or dexterity, any attribute, that modifies to a 0 actual bonus. So the 10 means nothing at all. It's the bonus that actually means something, but for some reason we still have this number on the front end. You still haven't figured out how to get rid of that number, like Mutants and Masterminds did. So if you have a 12, it's +1. If you have a 14, it's +2. It goes in increments of 2. So again, old school style. The 6 abilities, which I don't like, they're imbalanced. They have been for decades, but they're back. And the modifier, the number with a modifier, which is an extra step for no reason, it's back too. So I hope you're as excited about that as I am. So those are the abilities. Next we have heritage. This would usually be called race in another game, but Paizo is trying not to be racist, so you have a heritage instead. So you have your human, your elf, your dwarf. Nothing spectacular there. Hobbit, gnome, and goblin. Goblin is now a core race. That's good. I like that. I don't know why there's not more options, but at least we get a goblin now. So no lizard folk, no orc, no cat person, no tiefling, none of those things that I know a lot of you were hoping to see. But we do have goblins, so that's a step forward. Now the way your heritage works is you get each entry has its kind of base modifiers, so they modify your attribute, your strength, dex, con, that kind of thing. So those all get a modifier. And then each heritage also has a collection of feats, and they're all listed right there with your heritage. And I'll mention the book is beautiful, it's well organized, easy to reference, A+ in terms of layout. So you have your race, or excuse me, heritage. They have all their feats right there with them. At first level, you get to pick any one of those heritage feats, these special abilities, like the dwarf's stone cunning, for example. And then every few levels, you get to pick another one. So your heritage kind of levels up as your character levels up. I like that feature. That's not a bad feature. Previously, you'd pick a race and it would give you some kind of modifier at the start of the game and then nothing ever again, for the most part. But in this case, you get a little something every few levels to drive home that heritage, to remind you of your roots and where you're from. So I like that feature. Then we come into our classes. So we have, I believe, all of the classes from first edition, plus the alchemist. Alchemist got snuck in there. So I don't like classes in the first place. I don't like this specific number of classes. I don't like this specific modulation of classes. So I'll just tell you that right off the bat. You know, you got your fighter, your ranger, your paladin, your barbarian, a monk, a Shaolin monk for some reason, a druid, a cleric, a sorcerer, and a wizard, a rogue and a bard, and now alchemist is added on as well. So I don't like that, but fine, classes, great. So with your classes, um, everything is kind of feat based. The feats are the core and the heart of Pathfinder 2nd edition from the looks of this playtest. So every class has its special abilities that are locked in that you get. It looks like every other level you get something that's locked in, you have to take it. But on those odd levels, or even levels, you get to pick a class feat. And each class has a whole bunch of feats listed right there with the class. So just like with your heritage, you get a feat every few levels. It has to be tied to your heritage. With your class, you get a feat every other level that has to be tied to your class. Plus, on the even levels, as I said, you get a locked-in class feature that you can't change or modify. I'm sure someday they'll release splat books that allow you to change and modify even that, but in the core book they haven't done that. And I like this feature. You know, that's not so bad, especially since it's laid out right there, so easy to say, oh, a fighter, and oh, here's 10 feats for a fighter. Great. I love that. I probably would hate it if it wasn't laid out so well, but it's so easy to find and reference that I don't actually mind it. And I hate this kind of uh, this kind of forced customization. I love customization that you can pick. I don't like when you're forced to pick into a feat tree or something like that. But it's so easy and well organized here that I don't mind it at all. So we'll come through to skills. So for your skills, each class has certain skills that they are an expert in. And these skills you test at your class level. So if you're level 5, and let's say you're a wizard and you're going to make a spellcraft test, you get a +5 because you're a level 5 wizard. And wizards are trained in spellcraft automatically. Now, every few levels, it might be every other level or every third level, I can't recall off the top of my head, but every few levels you get to pick a skill to specialize in. So that can either be one you're not trained in and you bring it up to your training level, or it can be one that you're trained in and you bring it up to like an expert level. So by default, if you're not trained in a skill, you roll your die, you look at your level, and you just subtract 1. So if you're a level 5 wizard and you want to make an athletics test, but you're not trained, you get 4 +4 because it's your level, just 5, -1 for being untrained, so you roll a 4. Whereby if you're an expert in the skill, let's say, take that spellcraft test again. Level 5 wizard, usually you get +5 because it's built into your class, but if you have taken that as one of your expert skills, you're not just 5, but you roll a 6, a +6 on top of your roll. And it can go up from there. So if it's every third level, you get a skill specialization, you could keep pumping up your spellcraft. So it's your level +1 or +2 or +3. And then as you level up, you know, that goes up correspondingly. I like that feature. You know, that's not bad. It simplifies the skills, the selection. If you're going to do it class-based, this is a good way to do it. Now each skill also is broken down. It's beautiful layout. You really have to check it out with each individual sub-action. So acrobatics, for example, underneath the acrobatics skill, it has each individual action that acrobatics governs. You know, balancing, tumbling, I think like squeezing out of ropes. You know, escape artistry is all tied into acrobatics. It's broken down for you beautifully, simply, clearly. So I can't find very much fault with that. So that's skills. Next, feats. So now we have general feats. We already have all the feats for your heritage, all the feats for your class, but here we've got a big selection of generic feats that anybody can take. If you've read Pathfinder first edition, you'll kind of have an idea of what is available there. It's all kinds of combat styles, skill focuses, ways to bend the rules a little bit. If you like that kind of thing, you're going to like this. If you don't like feats, you're not going to like this. I don't like feats, so I'm not a huge fan. So feats, and then we move on to magic. I hope you like Vancian magic, because it's back. So a very similar magic system to first edition. It's a dusty system that's been around since the 70s, and they're keeping it going on into 2019 and 2020. Vancian magic's alive and well, unfortunately. So I'm not even going to go into Vancian magic any longer, or it will be a ramble. But it's there, and it's back, and if you like it, you like it, and if you don't like it, you don't like it. Combat, very similar to first edition. You have your attack roll, you have armor class to compare it to, you have a damage roll based on your weapon, you have hit points based largely on your class. Nothing revolutionary there, other than the fact that you get 3 actions. In first edition you got 2 actions, which in my opinion is 1 too many, and now you have 3 actions, which is 2 too many in my opinion, because now it's even more tactical, it's even more like a war game or a board game or a video game. It's less frantic, it's less unpredictable, there's less flow than ever before, and Pathfinder was already bad at that. So there you have your combat chapter. Then there's a chapter on advancement and optional rules. That one I really just skimmed, but it's basically like how to level up. So I'm not going to cover that in this first impressions view. I'm covering the core first level. Beyond that, I might do that in a full review. Then we have treasure. It's a standard Pathfinder style, tons and tons of magical items to throw at you. A brief game mastery section, how to run a game, focused on hack and slash and leveling up and combat encounters and all that stuff you'd expect from Pathfinder. So those are that's a basic overview. So what do I like about it? I like that it's simpler and more streamlined in appearance. I like that there are goblins. Goblins are good. I kind of like that there's an alchemist, because I do enjoy some alchemy in a game. That's probably it. That's probably it as far as things that I like. So your race means a little bit more. Your class, I don't know if it means more than it did, but you kind of have a few more customization options in a way. The skills, like I said, it's a little simpler. It's more level based, so it's more game based, which I don't like that it's game based, but I do like that it's streamlined. So come up even on that front. So that's kind of what I like. What I don't like, well, there's a ton that I don't like there. There's a very Tolkien-based selection of races, which is, in my opinion, a limited selection of races. The skills are very gamist. Your level is important. I don't know what level actually means. I don't know what level I am. I don't know what level you are. Maybe you know what level you are. But I don't. I can't look at somebody and say, oh, that guy's level 7. I can't do that. It doesn't mean anything to me. All right, what level is a 70-year-old man? I don't know. What level is a 14-year-old kid or a 30-year-old? I have no idea. But apparently that arbitrary thing is what determines how good they are at everything. So maybe level is how important they are to the story, but that's narrative, that's not simulation. that doesn't tell you anything about the world. So it's yeah, it's game-based, it's level-based, it's class-based. So if you want to play something that's not included in these, I guess are we up to 13, 14 classes now? But if you want to play something that's not included, like a politician or a strategist or a blacksmith, um, or a hunter who doesn't have magic, uh, a sailor, a merchant, you don't get to play any of those. Oh, that's, well, how many blacksmiths and politicians ever show up in the world? I mean, surely it cannot be many. But we sure do have a lot of Shaolin monks wandering around. I know we do in my neighborhood. So I don't like that it's class-based. I don't like the classes available. Um, there's a lot of feats. I don't like feats. I don't like Vancy and magic. So I'm trying not to make it a negative review, because it's not a review, it's first impression. But I would say, as an overall, let's come through and wrap it up. If you like first edition, you'll probably like this. If you didn't like first edition, you probably won't like this. So what are the key differences? Um, the key differences are your race matters more. All right, so if you're down with some racism, then this game might appeal to you a little more than the first edition. Um, your level matters more for determining all your skills. So you can't just put, one rank into something. But so you're kind of more genericized. So you can't be really bad at anything if you're of a high level. So if you like that kind of gamist, narrativist philosophy, then you might like second edition more than you liked first edition. Because in first edition, if you are a wizard and you forgot to put any ranks in ride, or maybe you really don't know how to ride a beast, and you make a ride test, you're in big trouble. Even if you're a really smart wizard, that has nothing to do with you riding a horse. Whereas in second edition, oh, you're a great wizard? Oh, you'll also be great at everything then. That's amazing. Like, so the characters are more well-rounded artificially and arbitrarily based on level, whatever that means or is. So if you want to be good at everything, um, second edition will appeal to you. If you want to have weaknesses as well as strengths, first edition is better for that. Um, the combat's the same. I guess this one's a little more tactical. So if you think Pathfinder is too fast moving and too frantic and too unpredictable and chaotic, then this is for you. It's even more tactical. It's even slower. You get to do even more stuff while everybody else waits around and waits for your turn to end. You get to plan your moves even deeper rather than reacting to what's going on around you. So if you like the war game style, this second edition will appeal to you more. The magic's basically the same. Everything else is pretty much lines up the same that I was able to see. Tons of magic, tons of hack and slash, dungeon crawling and scaled to your level and challenge rating and all that stuff that if you like first edition, you'll like it. And if you don't like it in first edition, I don't see how you'd like it better in this edition. So that's pretty much it for Pathfinder second edition, the playtest, just my first impressions. And again, I'll finish up probably with a personal opinion, and that's I was hoping they'd go to the left, and they went to the right. I was hoping it would become more of a simulation and simpler in certain ways and faster moving. It actually got slower and more tactical and more gamist and more narrativist and all the stuff that I didn't like about first edition got worse. Like I said, there were a few things I liked better. For the most part, I think it's a step backwards. So let me know in the comments below your first impression. If you have a video, a first impression, link that. If I said something wrong, call me an idiot in the comments and at least correct me about what I said wrong, or do your own video about what is actually correct, and then we can link that. But and let me know also, not just what you think, but are you going to use it? Are you going to buy the product? Um, and a lot of that, I'm sure, will depend on the final implementation, the resources available, the popularity. But just for right now, it's first impressions for everyone. So give yours down there. Will they get your money, your time, your energy, your effort? Or are you going to take a pass and maybe switch into something different? So until I see you again, good day and good gaming.